Man, I thought the first half of the month was crazy in terms of sneaker releases, but the second half is even crazier. What's up, everybody? I'm Seth Fowler, and this is Sit or Sell. But before we get into that, I've got a pretty crazy announcement, and that's that I'm giving away this upcoming pair of Air Jordan 1 Lost and Founds. This shoe is absolutely crazy. In my opinion, it's sneaker of the year, no question. I've had my own personal pair for about 2 weeks. I've done a review on that shoe, and I can tell you from the 2 weeks of wearing that sneaker, it's probably one of my favorite shoes in my entire collection. But yeah, I'm giving away this pair of brand new, unworn Air Jordan 1 Lost and Founds in a size 9 to one of you guys. So for this giveaway, I've teamed up with Whatnot, who you guys have probably heard of because they've been longtime supporters of the channel. And Whatnot is a live auction shopping platform where you can grab pretty much anything that you want 24 hours a day. And if you're a sneakerhead like me, which I'm sure you are if you're watching this video, you're in luck because Whatnot features live sneaker auctions 24 hours a day starting at just $1. Personally, I love Whatnot not just because of the awesome community, but also because it's a great place to buy and sell your stuff. As a buyer, Whatnot is great because you're actually able to see a 360 view of all the items that you're buying, and you're able to ask the seller questions right then and there. And if you'd like to check out Whatnot for yourself, make sure to sign up through that link in the top of the description below, and you'll be given $10 towards your next purchase on Whatnot after your first purchase. That's $10 free to buy whatever you want: retro video games, baseball cards, sneakers, whatever. And the way that I'm giving away this pair of Air Jordan 1 Lost and Founds is through a Whatnot live stream that I'm hosting tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want a chance to win this pair of upcoming Air Jordan 1 Lost and Founds, sneaker of the year in my opinion, make sure to tune into my live stream tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time by clicking that link in the description below and signing up for Whatnot. So let's just dive right into the sneaker releases in the second half of September 2022, and the first one of these releases technically I should have talked about in my last Sit or Sell video. However, we just didn't know this release was happening, and it's one of the biggest releases of the month. And that release is taking place on Tuesday, September 13th, and it's the OffWhite Nike Air Force 1 Low Brooklyn. So this release is honestly pretty insane. I definitely did not expect this shoe to drop on the sneakers app. So this shoe is part of OffWhite and Nike's Virgil Abloh Museum Collection, a collection of Air Force 1 Lows that drop alongside Virgil Abloh's exhibits at museums. And so far, the late Virgil Abloh's Figures of Speech exhibition is taking place at a few different prominent museums throughout the country, and now it's taking place at the Brooklyn Museum. And what's interesting about each one of these exhibitions is that with each one of these exhibitions, they release a new colorway of the same Off-White Air Force 1 Low. We had the MoMA colorway, which was all black, we had the Chicago colorway, which is all blue, we had the all yellow colorway, and now we're getting the Brooklyn colorway, which is all green. Now, whether you like this colorway or not compared to the other colorway, it doesn't really matter. This shoe is unbelievably hyped because this shoe is so incredibly limited. And personally, I'd be happy with any of these colorways, especially for retail. I think they're all incredible looking sneakers. And while I'm pretty sure this shoe has already released through the Brooklyn Museum, whether that's online or backdoor or through their museum store, we are getting a much larger release through the sneakers app. Now, obviously take that term much larger release with a grain of salt because this is still going to be an incredibly small release, but at least a lot of people throughout the United States have a chance at grabbing this pair of sneakers. And of course, because of the hype and the limited nature of this collaboration, this sneakers draw release will absolutely sell out. Then moving on to September 15th, we've got the Adidas Adifoam Q dropping in 2 different colorways. So the first colorway dropping is the pair that I reviewed, the Off-White colorway, and if you guys want to check out that review, there will be a link at the top of the screen. And the second colorway dropping is the all black and orange colorway. Now, as you probably know, this shoe has caused a lot of controversy, and that's because Kanye West believes that Adidas has ripped off his foam runner design. In fact, according to Ye, this shoe is just another sneaker in a long line of sneakers that Adidas has ripped off from Yeezy. And I go pretty in depth into that whole situation in that review, so again, if you guys want to check that out, link at the top of the screen. But I will say that this shoe definitely has some Yeezy foam runner vibes to it. I feel like Adidas couldn't make a foam sneaker without having that association made. And while Adidas does say that this shoe was mostly inspired by the Adidas Quake, which you can definitely see in the cutouts of the shoe, the overall design of the sneaker, the fact that it's a foam sneaker with cutouts throughout the top of the shoe, definitely looks Yeezy, especially in this colorway. But putting all of that aside, this shoe is still a pretty decent sneaker overall. I really like the way that it looks. I like the black colorway as well. Obviously, a lot of people are not going to be happy about the sneaker and may even boycott the sneaker because they are Kanye West fans. But I think if you don't really care about the drama, it's definitely a sneaker worth checking out. Now, as a Kanye fan myself, I do say that I'm a little conflicted owning this shoe and wearing this shoe because I know it probably pisses Kanye off. Not that I'm personally wearing it, but people are wearing it overall. And I know it's stupid, but it really does kind of bum me out thinking about that whenever I wear this sneaker. So I tend not to wear this sneaker that much for a lot of different reasons. Also because it's been raining a lot recently, so that's not the only reason. But overall, it's a decent sneaker. If you like it, it's worth checking out. And I think regardless of this Yeezy drama, I think people will still be interested in grabbing this shoe for themselves. So I do see this off-white colorway and the black colorway completely selling out. Next up, also dropping on the 15th, we've got the Air Jordan 37 Beyond Borders. So apparently this is the first colorway of the Air Jordan 37 to release, a shoe which was heavily inspired by the Air Jordan 7. While the newer Air Jordan performance models have not been as popular as they once were, usually the first colorway of the latest Air Jordan performance shoe does tend to sell out. And I think because this shoe does feature a lot of classic Air Jordan 7 hits with a nice cream upper, or light bone upper as they officially call it, and a really nice Air Jordan 7 inspired outsole, people will be interested in this shoe, especially if they play basketball. With that being said though, because Jordan hype is just down across the board, I do think that a year ago, while this shoe probably would have sold out, right now it probably will sell pretty well, but just not sell out in all sizes. So for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sit. Then finishing off September 15th, we've got one of the most heavily anticipated sneakers of the year, and that's the J Balvin Air Jordan 2. So I talked about this shoe a little bit in the last hit or sell video that I did a couple weeks ago, and at that time, the shoe's release date hadn't been officially confirmed, and actually neither had the price point. But now both things have been confirmed. We've got the release date officially of the 15th, and the price point of $300, which seems like a lot. Now, with that being said, I guess it is somewhat understandable because the shoe does feature some things that most other Jordan sneakers don't, most notably being the glow-in-the-dark outsole and also the light up tongue, which I get is something that a lot of kids sneakers already have, so it's not a big deal. But as a sneakerhead and fan of Nike and Jordan sneakers that light up like the Nike mags, this looks hot. Now, to be fair, only the Wings logo on the tongue of the shoe actually lights up with LEDs, but it's still a very cool and unique look, and I think accented by the painted cloud pattern on the upper of the shoe, the entire sneaker is very different from really anything else we've gotten recently. And honestly, I'm not really a fan of J Balvin. I don't really know any of his music. I didn't like his first collaboration, but I feel like this second time around, he's really done a great job of kind of nailing what sneakerheads want, and for that reason, this is a shoe that both I'm excited about and I think a lot of other people are excited about, and this shoe will absolutely sell out. Then moving on to September 16th, we've got the women's Nike Dunk Low Next Nature Phantom. So this shoe comes in a primarily cream and light brown look, which I think is very clean, and the Next Nature naming of this shoe means that this shoe features 20% recycled materials. And overall, I've got to say that this is a very clean look, and I kind of wish it was dropping in men's sizing as well. So unfortunately, larger footed dudes won't be able to grab this shoe, but I don't think that's going to affect the sales of the sneaker. I think this is going to be a very clean colorway that a lot of people are going to like, and for that reason, I think this shoe will probably sell out. Also dropping on the 16th, we've got Drake's latest collaboration with Nike, and that's the Nocta Hot Step in black and yellow. So this shoe is sort of a remastered take on the Nike Air Terra Humera. It features a new upper and similar tooling on the outsole. And this time around, the shoe comes in a primarily black makeup, accented by yellow on the heel and a little bit on the eyelid of the shoe. So I don't know what it is about this silhouette, but people really haven't seemed to have taken to the silhouette as much as I thought that they would. The first two colorways of the shoe did sell out, however, a little bit slower than I think people would have expected. And what I've noticed is that even before the release of this shoe is reselling for less than retail. And it's crazy because Drake is an incredibly popular artist at the moment. Most other popular artists release collaborations that sell out instantly, but for whatever reason, this Nike Air Terra Humera or Nocta Hot Step is not really moving the needle the way that I would have thought that it would have. I mean, especially in this black and yellow colorway. This is by far my favorite of all the Nocta Hot Step colorways, but people just don't seem to be digging it. And for that reason, I think this shoe might end up sitting. Also dropping on the 16th is the next Apothecary limited collection. If you are not familiar with Apothecary, which I'm sure you are if you watch this channel, but Apothecary is a sock brand that I co-founded. At Apothecary, we strive to make your sneakers favorite socks, and I feel like we've succeeded because our socks are not only incredibly comfortable, very breathable, but they also look great with all of your sneakers. And on Friday, September 16th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we're dropping our next limited collection that we've dubbed the Big Logo Collection because it's got big logos on the side of the socks. I think this collection is absolutely fire. It comes in 4 different colorways that all look great with your sneakers. My personal favorite is the green and pink colorway. You don't really find a lot of green and pink socks, and I think this is a great looking pair. So if you're trying to grab your sneakers' new favorite socks by grabbing one or all of the socks from this collection, they officially drop on our website, apothecary.com, this Friday, Friday the 16th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. These socks are fire, man. I love them. I know it's my own sock brand, but genuinely, this collection is fire. Then finishing off September 16th, we've got the Carhartt Work in Progress New Balance 990 V1 collaboration. I know I say this every time I talk about New Balance, but man, I am a huge New Balance fan, and this collaboration, it's perfect. I love it. So this Carhartt New Balance collaboration comes in primarily navy blue suede, accented by some tan hits throughout. Of course, it features the Carhartt logo on the tongue of the sneaker as well as the New Balance logo, and overall, it's a simple, understated collaboration that I think New Balance heads are really gonna love. And I've gotta say, it's an incredibly clean shoe. You can wear it with pretty much everything. It's kind of one of those if you know sort of sneakers, because most people won't even know what they're looking at when they see this shoe. And I think it's one of the best New Balance collaborations of the last couple months. I can't say the entire year because this year has been crazy with New Balance collaborations, but it's a solid look and definitely a shoe that I'm gonna be going for. And as we all know, New Balance collaborations over the last year and a half to 2 years have been incredibly popular, and for that reason, I definitely think this shoe will end up selling out. Moving on to September 17th, we've got the Pharrell Human Race NMD Animal Print Amber. So I feel like it's fair to say that Pharrell has always had an eye for crazy design. He's always liked really out there colors and patterns, and it seems like he's pushing that even further with these new animal print Pharrells. The last Pharrell drop that we had was actually crazier than this because it came in a blue with a cheetah print. However, this time around, he's toned things down, I guess in a manner of speaking, a little bit by making the base color of the shoe a tan. However, while the pattern on the shoe is a little bit more toned down than it was in the previous iteration of this colorway, it looks like he's keeping things crazy with contrasting blues and reds and greens throughout the sneaker. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I like this shoe. I feel like it's a little bit too much for me. I know there's probably some people out there who do really like this sneaker, but it is not for me, and I just don't know how well it's gonna do. It's funny though, with the blue animal print pair, I thought that pair was definitely not gonna sell out, and then it did, so I guess there is a chance that this shoe could sell out as well, but my gut is telling me that it's probably gonna sit on shelves, so for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sit. Next up, also dropping on the 17th, we've got the AJ1 KO in muted gray. So over the last year or so, Jordan Brand has been trying to bring back the AJ1 KO, and I feel like for some of the more popular colorways, it makes sense, and those colorways do tend to sell out, but for some of the more basic and even newer colorways on the AJ KO, people just don't really feel them, and they're not really into them, and I think that's the case with this muted gray colorway. While it's not a bad sneaker overall, it's not a silhouette that's very hyped up, it's definitely not a colorway that's very hyped up, and it's not something that I think a lot of people are going to be that excited about. And so for that reason, I think the shoe is probably going to sit. Then rounding off the 17th, we've got the Air Jordan 1 High heirloom. So this shoe comes in what seems like a black denim upper accented by light tan or yellowish overlays in leather, and overall it is a pretty clean colorway. From what I can tell, there's actually a surprising amount of hype behind this shoe, which I did not expect. Something else I'm just noticing now looking at these images again, the Wings logo on the side of the shoe just comes in the same tan or yellow color as the rest of the upper and doesn't have any kind of ink dipped into it like it usually does. Which in my opinion honestly kind of oversimplifies the shoe. I'm not a huge fan of that detail of the shoe. I'm also not in love with the denim used on the upper. However, I think the colors and the color blocking that they chose for this shoe are different and kind of cool, and I like that about it. So for me, it's kind of like a 50-50. I'm not in love with it, but I also wouldn't be mad at grabbing this shoe for retail or maybe even on sale. And because it seems like this shoe is going to be relatively popular, I wouldn't be surprised if this shoe ended up selling out. Maybe not that fast. You could probably walk into Foot Lockers and find your size like a day or two after release, but I would say within the release weekend, this shoe will probably sell in most places. So for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sell. Continuing on to September 19th, Yeezy is bringing back the Adidas Yeezy 500 High, this time in taupe black. Now I'm actually kind of interested to see whether this shoe actually ends up releasing because of everything going on with Kanye West and Adidas and the fact that there's some contract talks going on, and I don't know if Kanye's actually staying with Adidas or not. So I don't know if Adidas is going to push this release back to just see what happens, or if they're just going to try and throw it out as quickly as possible just in case he does leave and they can get their money for it. Who knows? But yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether this shoe drops, and if it does drop, what Kanye has to say about it. The sneaker itself is alright looking. It comes in tonal browns accented by sort of a purpley black on the outsole and on the midsole of the shoe. Overall, it's not a bad look, but it's not something that I'm incredibly excited for, and I'm also not the biggest fan of the Yeezy 500 High. I don't mind it, I think it's an alright silhouette, but a lot of the colorways that have dropped over the last year and a half have not been that great, and I feel like this is another not so great colorway. And I just don't know if people are going to be hype on Yeezy right now because of everything going on and the fact that Kanye is not too happy with Adidas, and this is technically an Adidas sneaker. So I feel like this is one of those releases that we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Before all this Kanye drama, I would have said that this shoe was going to sit. After this Kanye drama, I honestly don't know. But I guess at the end of the day, if an Adidas Yeezy sneaker does not sell out within like the first week, they usually pull it from shelves. So because of that, I guess this shoe kind of sells out by default. Continuing on to September 20th, we've got the women's Nike Dunk Low Medium Olive. So we did already talk about this shoe in the last Sit or Sell video. It looks like this shoe was pushed back. I'm not really going to go into detail about this shoe because we've already talked about it. And I mean, sure, it's a good looking sneaker. There's nothing wrong with it. I like the color blocking. My opinion hasn't changed on this shoe. I definitely think this shoe will end up selling out. And then rounding off the 20th, we've got the women's Nike Dunk Low in Wheat Gum Light Brown. So this women's Nike Dunk Low is sort of an interesting take on the silhouette. It features a quilted tan upper accented by non-quilted tan overlays and a dark brown gum outsole, or I guess light gum brown outsole, but realistically it's a dark gum brown outsole. I mean, the sneaker itself looks fine. It's not something I'm that excited about, and it's also not a shoe that comes in men's sizing, so not even something I can grab, but overall it's a Nike Dunk Low. It might not fly off the shelves like some of the other more popular colorways, but at the same time, I do still think it's gonna sell, so for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sell. Next up, on September 22nd, we've got the women's Air Jordan 1 High Denim. So as the name would suggest, this is an Air Jordan 1 featuring a white leather upper accented by denim overlays. And you know what? Even though I'm not usually a huge fan of denim sneakers, I did like the Levi's 4s, and I did like those denim Air Max 90s, but this shoe is actually pretty clean, and I think it's because of the color blocking and the way that they overlaid the denim. Not only does this shoe feature denim overlays on the sneaker, but it also has bright gold accents at the bottom of the laces, which I'm not as big a fan of. I feel like this is one of those shoes that people are really gonna go crazy with customs. It's a kind of sneaker that's a pretty decent base because you've got the denim and you can distress it or you can dye it or whatever, and then you've got the leather that you can add more detailed work on. It's gonna be a cool sneaker to see what customs come out of it. And even though this shoe is a women's exclusive, there is a lot of hype behind this sneaker, and because of that, I do think this shoe will sell out. Also dropping on the 22nd, we've got the brand new Salehi Bembury Pollux Crocs in Tide. So the images of this shoe are kind of wild because you can never really tell exactly what colorway it is. In some colors, it looks deep blue. In other colors, it looks sort of like a greenish sea blue. I'm not sure exactly what color to expect, but I'm gonna go off of Salehi Bembury's Instagram post and say that it's more of like a seafoam green. Either way, I think it's an incredibly clean shoe. I love Salehi Bembury's collaborations. I love this sneaker, and I feel like this colorway just makes a great shoe look even better. But just like all of Salehi Bembury's other Crocs collaborations, this shoe will inevitably sell out and be very difficult to get. Moving on to September 23rd, we've got the return of a classic with the Reebok Shack Attack in the OG colorway. So I actually have a pair of Reebok Shack Attacks. This is actually one of the shoes that he signed in his size during his Hall of Fame induction. I think there's like hundreds of these, but I was able to grab one for myself. It's got Shaq's signature right there. But this exact shoe is dropping again for the first time since I believe 2017 on September 23rd. And while for some people this shoe might not be as memorable as the Shaq Gnosis, this is still a shoe that has a lot of history and a sneaker that I still want to pick up. I mean, if for no other reason than having a pair in my size, because this is a size 22 and I'm a size 9, so I could probably fit 2 of my feet in here. Because this shoe hasn't dropped in so long, there is a good amount of hype for this shoe, and because of that, I wouldn't be surprised if this shoe ended up selling out. Next up, we've got the Martine Rose Nike Shox MR4. So Martine Rose is a very well-known designer who's actually recently done some collaborations with Nike, and some of them are remembered as not being the most popular of Nike collabs. And that's because her collaborations are inspired by the weird and the out there. And for some people that works, and for other people like myself, it's not something I want to wear. I'm sure you guys remember the Martine Rose Air Monarchs, a shoe that looked like it had growths on it. Well, this time around she's doing something different and creating a Nike Shox that kind of looks like a pair of high heels. And while I appreciate that she's trying something different and doing something that no one else has done before and is making people talk, at the same time, it's weird. This is a weird shoe. And honestly, on foot, it looks even weirder. It's a shoe that I think a lot of people are probably not going to be into because of how out there it is. And for that reason, even though the shoe is a collaboration with a pretty popular artist, I'm giving this shoe a sit. Next up, also dropping on the 23rd, we've got the Nike Dunk Low in Wolf Gray and Pure Platinum. So this suede-covered Nike Dunk Low comes in tonal grays and definitely has some staple vibes to it, which I actually don't mind. Something that's kind of interesting about this colorway is that the midsole and outsole of the shoe come in a semi-translucent cream, or I guess gray color, which definitely gives the sneaker a unique look, and overall, it's a clean and very wearable Nike Dunk Low. And as I say in every Sit or Sell video, Nike Dunk Lows always sell out, and I don't think it's changing anytime soon, so for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sell. Next up, we've got another Nike Dunk Low also dropping on the 23rd. This time around, it's the Nike Dunk Low Argon. So originally this colorway dropped as a Japan exclusive. It features a dark navy blue upper accented by a slightly lighter blue overlay. And for the first time ever, this colorway is releasing worldwide, giving a lot of fans of this colorway who couldn't grab the shoes before because they were a Japan exclusive a chance to own this coveted colorway. And again, it's a Nike Dunk Low, it's a popular colorway, and I definitely think this shoe will sell out. And then finally, rounding off September 23rd, we've got the Adidas Yeezy Boost 350 V2 Compact in slate bone. So this is a primarily white and gray, or I guess white and cream Yeezy Boost 350 V2 Compact. In my opinion, the compacts are the most comfortable 350 V2s ever. The upper of the shoe just feels so good on foot, and it fits true to size, which is not usually the case for 350 V2s. However, I'm not the biggest fan of the aesthetics of the compact silhouette. I feel like it's a little bit too organic for me. It's a shoe that was very popular when it first released, and now with these secondary colorways of the shoe, it's just not as popular as it once was. However, at the end of the day, it is a pair of Yeezys, and Yeezys do tend to sell very well, especially 350s. And unfortunately, again, because we don't really know what's going on between Kanye West and Adidas, I can't say for sure whether this shoe will actually release. However, if it does release, I wouldn't be surprised if this shoe ended up selling out. Not very quickly, but probably selling out nonetheless. Then moving on to September 24th, we've got the US release of an incredibly coveted sneaker, the Air Jordan 1 Yellowtail. So this is a shoe that's been leaked and rumored since like 2019, and finally in 2022, we're getting the release of this shoe, and I've got to say, it does not disappoint. I've actually done a full review on this sneaker, so if you guys want to check that out, there will be a link at the top of the screen. But it's one of those shoes that, while yes, it is a yellow colorway, which is not the easiest colorway to rock, it's a very toned down and almost orangey yellow. In fact, it looks a lot like the shattered backboards, and it's surprising to me that the hype for this shoe is not as high as I would have thought. In fact, right now, like 3 weeks before the US release, you can actually grab pairs of these on the secondary market for like $30 over retail. It's insane because this colorway is so clean. Again, if you guys want to hear my full thoughts on this shoe, make sure to check out my review, but overall, it's going to be a very popular colorway. It's not going to be incredibly difficult to grab, but it's not going to sit around either, and for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sell. Then continuing on to September 27th, we've got the Nike Dunk High 1985 in the Barely Rose colorway. So Nike's doing something similar to Jordan Brand by re-releasing the original silhouette or the original shape of the silhouette from 1985 on one of their most popular silhouettes. In the case of Jordan Brand is re-releasing the Air Jordan 1 in the 1985 cut, and with Nike, they're releasing the Nike Dunk High in the 1985 cut. It's also interesting because both of those shoes are pretty similar to one another. Unfortunately, as of right now, it seems like Nike is reserving some of their more popular dunk colorways for non-1985 pairs, which kind of sucks. In fact, all of the 1985 pairs colorways have not been the best, and it seems like Nike is not changing that up anytime soon because they're releasing this shoe, which, don't get me wrong, doesn't look bad, but it's not a classic dunk colorway, and I want classic dunk colorways. This shoe comes with the white leather upper accented by a washed red denim overlay, which looks alright on the shoe, and then the overall look is rounded off by a tan midsole and outsole. I mean, it's clean, it's simple, there's nothing wrong with it, but if you're gonna give us the original cut, give us the original colorways. I don't understand it. It's actually kind of similar to the Air Jordan 1 1985s. However, in that case, they did give us some OG colorways like the neutral grays, so I guess it's not exactly the same thing, but they're not giving us Chicago's or breads or anything like that, so I don't know. I would like to see all of the original colorways on these 1985 pairs, but it is what it is. However, like I said, this Barely Rose colorway is still clean. I don't think it's going to sell out in stores, at least not right away, but I do think it's going to sell out online, and for most people, that's where they buy their shoes, so for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sell. Then moving on to September 28th, we've got the Air Jordan 1 Low Powder Blue. So as of right now, I have not yet finished the review of the Air Jordan 1 Powder Blues, but stay tuned, this review is coming. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. But I've got to say that this is one of my favorite Air Jordan 1 Lows. I think the shoe looks absolutely incredible. The sneaker features a primarily white leather upper accented by black overlays and sort of a UNC or a powder blue accent on the heel. And overall, it's a very clean and wearable Air Jordan 1 Low with a little bit of pop of color, which I really like. Now it's interesting because Air Jordan 1 Highs have not been as popular as they once were. However, Air Jordan 1 Lows are gaining popularity, and I feel like this is one of those colorways that people are going to remember and definitely want to pick up. Because this is such a clean Air Jordan 1 Low colorway, I definitely think the hype is there, and for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sell. And then finally rounding off the month, on September 29th, we've got the Tom Sachs Nike Craft General Purpose Shoe in Archive. So from what I can tell, this is the Sneakers app release of this shoe. It's already dropped on Tom Sachs' website, and now it's getting a much wider release through the Sneakers app. Now, I've actually already talked about this shoe, at least for the previous release in the Last Sit or Sell video, so if you guys want to hear more about this sneaker, make sure to check out that video. But it's a pretty clean looking sneaker. It's the second colorway of the General Purpose shoe, and this time around, it comes in a primarily yellow and tan look. I know some people prefer the original colorway of this shoe, but in my opinion, I kind of like the yellow because it pops more. It looks more interesting. But honestly, no matter what the shoe looks like, it's a Tom Sachs collab, and anything Tom Sachs sells out, at least when it's a collab with Nike, and so for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sell. But that pretty much wraps up the entire video for today. Let me know your thoughts on all of these releases in the comment section down below. Also, which one of these shoes you're looking forward to most. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.